Hello, figments of my imagination. Welcome back to the channel. How's that for an intro, huh? I don't know, I think I'll start doing an intro, so... Oops, hold on. Left my source material. Okay. I think I'll start doing an intro just so people know. You know, just a guy that likes to talk about philosophy and society and stuff and transcend the workaday world and talk to you about the stuff that really matters in your life. So, today I just want to talk about kind of like where our society has placed value in learning almost, and why I think it's sort of been distorted and weird. And this comes from I just finished Developing Mental Power by George Malcolm Stratton. This is from a website called Forgotten Books. It's really nice. They take manuscripts of like old books that have been forgotten, for lack of better words, and they just reprint them in a easy to read format. Not an entirely long book at all. It's not a novel or anything. It's just meant to target audience actually is childhood educators. So it's actually more slanted towards teachers that are teaching young children. But it brought up some interesting points, and I just wanted to bring that to the attention of us in general, and kind of where we sit as a society on kind of a few things: the value of learning, how teaching is done, and what we've kind of come to as what we've where we've placed learning, faults on all sides. Students, teachers. As fault is everywhere. It's not one single thing you can pinpoint it on. So I suppose that I'm not really sure where I would start, but um, I guess I'll start in what we. So I wrote an essay recently. It was about it was an ethical essay competition, and it wasn't. I didn't win. I think I was cheated out of a win by the judges. But anyways, the prompt was, should AI replace college professors? And my point for my essay was sort of that, like, the, and the source material, the article that the prompt was kind of coming from, it was saying how the rise of AI universities, essentially colleges that are just um, based off of AI, pretty much all AI, no human professors, are inevitable, and they surely will be coming in the near future. And my response was sort of along the lines of, I think AI universities are also inevitable, but I'm not actually against them at all in any aspect. I think that they should be allowed to flourish and be a thing if they want to be, but I do think that human universities should, not even largely, I wouldn't even say largely, but should still remain a thing no matter how small they become. Um, Not based on any basis of like grades, but on actual human willingness to learn. Because some students, I feel like this is a thing, we see it in pop culture. And I guess I kind of bridge the divide here. I guess this is what I'm good for. That I bridge the divide, being a young person, between the more philosophically inclined, which might be on the higher end of the age spectrum, and the younger generation. But you see memes all the time of like college MFs on their way to the lecture, knowing fully well that they're just gonna watch TikTok and play Clash Royale. And I see this as kind of a problem, and it's a two-pronged problem. There's two sides of it. First, we'll go over the 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 whoa, I'm stuttering here. First, we're gonna go over the. Whoa, I've lost my train of thought completely. Okay, so there's the student's fault, and then there's the right. Gotcha. So first, we'll go over the part of like on where it becomes the fault of the colleges, which I think is it's kind of 50-50, but I'm going to say it's 60-40 to the students, and I'll tell you why. I feel like colleges are kind of weird in the way that even if you have a set degree path, like a major, I understand if you're general studies, but even if you have a major picked out, they'll still require you to do stuff like an arts distribution or like an art class or like a like weird class like a technology class or stuff like that. Like I'm doing a psychology philosophy double major as I've said before, but I'm required to take an art class for some reason. I'm not exactly sure why that is, and I'm also required to take a few other classes that are like I don't really see the point of me taking it. I'm taking like a, anyways. My point is that I'm paying like English classes. Like my grasp of the English language is very well, and I really don't see the point to these English classes. And I feel like I'm paying for something. Well, I got a full ride scholarship, so I'm not paying. But I feel as if I'm paying for something I don't even want to attend. Like these English classes are genuinely just not fun to be in. So I think there is some in part some fault on the schools there. Like people that are required to take these art classes, they're not going to be really inclined to learn anything. They don't want to learn anything. And why would you want to learn anything? You're just kind of gonna zone out because you're like, well, I don't really want to do this class. Why am I here? Why would I even bother paying attention? And now on to the student's fault. And I think it's sort of a I think it is more of the student's fault because even in this field, like there's people. I say it because there's people taking. So I'm in a psychology 221 class because I took AP Psych, so I didn't have to take Introduction to Psych. So it's Introduction to Psychopathology. So it's not like a basic class or course by any means. Um, it's not like it's not like a gen ed requirement by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah, I still see a few kids in there that are more than a few actually. I would probably say at least a third, a fourth of the kids in there are kind of not paying attention at all. Like they're just, as the lecture described, they're talking to each other. They're on their phones and their laptops and their computers, and it's obviously a class that they chose to take because, like I said, it's not an introductory, and it's a community college. It's not a I can't imagine the class being for some sort of degree requirement. Maybe I'm just not informed, but assuming that I am correct and that they chose to take their class out of their own volition, it strikes me as weird because why would you take a class and not intend to pay any attention to in it? If you grasp what I'm saying, like you're not even gonna bother trying to do it. It's obvious that they use AI because they're not really like in a test, the recent test we had, one of the groups of the main perpetrators were like huddling together to sit at the back, so they could cheat off each other. Like I heard them discussing because the regular seats are up in the front, anyways, right? So they're huddling together to cheat at the back, and I'm like, so why would you take the class then? If you genuinely just were not interested in the subject, why would you take it? Why would you add that to your schedule? If it's not for a requirement or anything, and I'm sure it wasn't. Like there's no way that all of those people that were distracted are all taking it out because they need to out of some requirement to. I feel like some of them just took it just to take it, and I'm not really sure what this stems from. You can point towards social media and the loss of attention span, but I wonder if it's some other deep-seated issue, sort of like school has become much more about the grade, you know? Ooh, oh wait, I'm going somewhere with this. I remember in high school it was very elitist. People were all about your grades, your SAT scores, your what college you're going into. And now that I'm thinking about it, it makes sense philosophically. I'm inclined. People have begun to treat college more as of college in the old days was seen as a prestigious place, a place where you go to edify yourself and make yourself better, and not just learn stuff, but you're becoming a better rounded, full-fledged person there in college. Not that you can't do that if you don't go to college, but that was seen as what it was for. And college nowadays is seen more as of a commodity, a place where you go so you can get a piece of paper so you can appear good on a job application. And I feel like that's really what kids are treating it now as. I think that's where the problem lies. And of course, you don't have to blame it on the kids solely. You can point to parents' expectations of good colleges, other stuff. But at some point, you can't be like, oh, the kid is never at fault. At some point, it is them. Like they're competing with each other. They're or they just don't want to pay attention. Sorry, truth. So I think that's sort of what we can look at. We have become such a, I don't even want to say materialistic because I feel like that's too reductionist. Like it's more, it transcends materialism. It descends because like it's not like, it's not transcending in the way that it's better than materialism, but it's transcending and like it's a new low of materialism where college is just seen as a stamp getter. I'll call it that. It's an approval getter, right? Like you go to college, you're good. You're good. You're smart. You can get a good job. And I think that people have just begun to treat it like that. So they don't really care about the class or learning anymore. They'll just cheat. They'll use AI to answer the question. They won't care about the content. They're not noticing how each experience in college is making them a better person. They're just seeing how, oh, people with college degrees get paid more, so I need one. And I really feel like if you don't want to go to college for the point of edifying yourself, like I want to go to college. Like I want to learn about philosophy and psychology and become a more knowledgeable person. Like I genuinely want to. Like it would be my dream if I had the money to like go to Oxford, and one of those big prestigious old archaic universities with the huge libraries and just books everywhere. And that's what it is, that the college experience is about becoming smart and intelligent and knowledgeable and striving for that wisdom which only God can illuminate for us, even, you know, sort of like that. I'm very old school in that way, I guess. I yearn for that old college experience, I see those big libraries and I feel like these are where the greats, this is where the greats learned, you feel like you're in Plato's academy and Socrates' academy. I forget whose the academy was. But no, kid just, I feel like nowadays we're just, yeah, I got the college degree and it's not even real anymore. I mean, the job market is so oversaturated with bachelor's degrees that a bachelor's degree is pretty much the equivalent of like a high school diploma like 20 years ago. You know, it's like everyone has it. It's not really all that special anymore. So, and this is an excellent segue to another topic that I want to talk about. Our emphasis on learning has become more of do what is going to make you money and less of do what you enjoy learning about. I enjoyed learning about philosophy and psychology immensely. When I study for those classes, I've showed you before, I've showed you my notebooks. I've actually almost filled out my psychology notebook. Um, it's almost full, and it's an amount of notes that is immense compared to the amount of notes that I have taken in one of them alone, not even both of them combined, in either my philosophy or my psychology textbook is more than the notes I have taken in the rest of my school career combined. Plain stop. It's not even a competition. I enjoy those subjects immensely. So I'm taking these notes because I want to remember them. I want to learn them. I didn't take notes because, like Conan Doyle said through Sherlock Holmes, his novel Sherlock Holmes, your mind space, your mind attic is only so limited in what it can store. So you shouldn't clutter it with useless stuff. So I don't bother really remembering stuff that I'm not gonna. My computer science class, it's gone. It's out the window. I want nothing to do with computer science in my career. And yet you see that's a problem. I had many kids in my computer science class that did not like the class at all and complained about it, but they would want to do a computer science degree. And of course, the reason was always money. Like, oh, they make a lot of money. And I've never taken a business class yet, but I assume it might be the same where everyone's complaining about business. But, nowadays, everyone you hear is taking degrees in business and computer science and IT, you know? And I, the case has got to be, I, I can't imagine it would be the same for a degree like psychology, like, or philosophy. Like, if you surveyed, like, psychology and philosophy students and asked them, like, how much do you like learning about your major? I'm assuming it would be upwards in the 85 to 90 percentile, 90% range. Whereas with business, cybersecurity, IT, and all that, I can't imagine it would be over like 60. I'm sure some kids like it, but if you ask them their main motivator, 100% guarantee the biggest will be money. And I think that's a problem because people are reducing themselves to their job because their job makes them money, and they feel like money is the only way in which they can attain that happiness for themselves if they have money. And I'm not saying money is a bad thing because you need the basics to survive, but you could be happy on a, I was gonna say 100,000. I guess with inflation that'd be correct, but like 70,000 would be like, unless you're living in one of those super big cities, like you could get by comfortably on 70,000. Me, I just need a few books. As long as my family's happy, then I'm good. I don't need money. But people today have just become about. It's not even that they enjoy the class they're taking. They're taking a major that they don't like to get through a school, which they don't like the experience of a school, so they can go get a job that they don't like either. To go get money, and people are like, oh well, that's the aspect, that's capitalism for you. No, this transcends like politics. I'm never gonna talk about politics on my channel. I don't want to. I mean, unless you view like religious topics, which I might talk about sometimes, as political, but no, they're not political. They might be political topics are religious, if you want to see it in that way. But no, politics are just such a cesspool. No, it's nothing about capitalism or anything. I can't imagine you'd be much happier under commun. Look, I'm not even gonna make any statements, but no, it's nothing about capital. It's about that we have become so like people are just so inclined to they the Ubermensch. I suppose this is Nietzsche's parable of the madman. That's how they're creating meaning for themselves. But yeah, this video is getting a little long, so I'll kind of sum it up there. Oh, and I'll give you my advice. I guess I'll always end a video for a little bit of my advice. My advice to you would be, if you feel a subject that you are so strongly inclinated to, then pursue that subject 100%. If you don't feel like you would benefit from college, don't go to college. If you're even like a little unsure, like, do I really think college is going to help me? Don't do it, because it's not worth it. It's not worth getting the money, getting the debt, and at the end of the day, it's really just not going to help you at all. Um, but if you feel so strongly about a subject, like I enjoy learning about this subject immensely, like history, a bunch of history buffs out there, um, you know, other stuff, go for it 100%. When you enjoy learning about something, you're going to be able to learn about it so easily. And someone that excels in what they do, I believe this is from Epictetus's Enchiridion. It is better to be an excel, like a prodigy in a subject that is considered less prestigious, even though in reality I don't think there's really a lot of prestigious subjects. That's such a BS word to me. Than to be struggling in a subject that's considered very prestigious. That is from Epictetus's Enchiridion, and I really think it's true. It's like I think it reflects much better on you if you are like, if your employer looks at you and goes like, wow, they are like, straight A's, excelled in college, they did really well. The subject's not really gonna matter as much because they can see that when you enjoy doing something, this is assuming you apply to a job that's somewhat related, that you're very committed and you like learning about it. So that's what I say. But there's also just some more advice, you know. People place a lot of emphasis on college. It's really not that important. And lastly, you might say, like, well, what if I don't have any idea what I want to do? You know, what if I have, like, no inclination towards anything? And everyone has some inclination towards nothing, but, you know, assuming there's always going to be someone like, well, what if I don't? What if I have nothing? Get off your phone. Get off your phone, first of all. Try reading a few things. Reflect on your school experience. What subjects did you excel at? What were your best spots? Was it history? You know, look into something history, anthropology, politically related, you know, other stuff. You know, was it English? Look into something English related. Look into something philosophy related. Look into something, you know, even law related. You know, you can always find something for you. Try reading. So you think about a subject, and then you find a book on on like different subtopics in that subject. You know, and then you can find something that you're interested in. And I genuinely believe everyone can find something they're interested in. Hell, even trade school. You know, you can go to there. I got a really good buddy that's going to trade school, but you know, it's like, so I'll give my key takeaways, right? Key takeaways from this video. Our education system has been messed up, both by students and educators. Are I'm so all over. I really should make a script. I think I'm gonna start making scripts because I feel like I rambled too long on subjects and I didn't even touch on other subjects that I wanted to touch. Um, Main takeaways, yeah. So our way of learning has been messed up. Our emphasis on college, where we see college, what we've started to treat college as, what we've lost sight of, has been messed up. Everything. Yeah, I really need a script. But you get what I'm trying to say. You watched the video. You probably didn't even watch to the end. But if you did, like and subscribe because I immensely respect you for that. Because I think I am I'm a very good person to watch. I'm very well. I think I'm pretty erudite. Ooh, say that again. Erudite. I'm an erudite elocutor. Yeah. Anyways, like and subscribe if you made it this far, for more content like this. Bye.